Welcome, everybody, to the Healing Place podcast. I'm your host, Teri Wellbrock, and I'm just really thrilled to have with me today Dr. Devin DeGreif, and she is here to talk to us. Oh my gosh. Well, first, let me just read her bio here. So she's a physical therapist, transformational coach, and author of the upcoming book, Good Grief, The Journey from Grief to Joy. So I'm excited to talk about her book that's launching next week. Yay. So welcome, Dr. Devin.
Hi, thanks for having me. Hi, everybody.
Oh, absolutely. I'm again so excited to one, learn about your book, but also, grief is one of those subjects that's just like, oh, right. I mean, this is heavy,
hmm
but I love how you're taking it, being able to move from grief to joy. So, can you talk to us about the inspiration behind your book?
Oh, yeah. Oh my gosh. It's the inspiration actually came from my journey from grief to joy and like the thick, mucky journey through that and wanting to basically shorten that path for other people, which was really the message behind the divine and spirit in me of like when I was ready to be done with life after the trauma of losing my mom to murder. I was just didn't want to be here, right? Didn't want to exist anymore. And I heard the loudest no in my life that I had ever heard from the divine saying, like, no, this isn't where your story ends. Your story is meant to be shared with others. And as I was living the story, I knew a book would come out of it, but it wasn't my focus while going. I was just trying to survive, right? I was just trying to one, get out of survival, to move into thrival, and to try to get to those states that are normal, but given trauma, it was normal, felt like so far away. And so the book was actually born out of showing people that this whole journey with grief or pain or any of the dark side is actually a journey of both sides. Like a lot of times when you're in it, you're only seeing the darkness. But what happens is when you start to see that there's a balance of dark and light, and you start to have to where things are on a spectrum. And that's what happened in my journey was I was seeing glimpses of light. I wasn't identified with light yet. I was identified with dark and heaviness, right? But what I want people to see is that what my story is actually about is actually joy, even though the joy was born out of grief. I think in cases like mine and my mom's murder, to be honest, it's usually painted in a very dark picture. It's very like crime dramas, right? And this sort of thing is there's a lot of focus in the world today on the dark, the heaviness, and we get a lot of sensationalism and a lot of entertainment around murder, around crime, right? And I want to change that. Like my mom was murdered. Dateline NBC was at my house. CSI was like this whole ordeal. And when I wrote this book, the number one thing I was worried about was like just more dialogue around that. And that's why I'm just on this mission. It's my purpose of like to show people I'm a living human being that had this horrendous thing happen in their lives, and I can still show up in joy. I can still experience joy. I can still share in joy and connect to people and see what life is really about. And if I can do it, other people can do it.
Amen and hallelujah. You see my little sign here that says choose happy, right?
Yep.
Because I mean, I went through horrific trauma, but two events when I was 21 and 22, 3 months apart, involved murder. And I had a gunman hold a gun to my head, stab my coworker 3 times with a hunting knife, and then 3 months later, the same assailants would come to our main office where I had just moved. Only this
Wow.
time, the assailant who had held the gun to my head would pull the trigger and murder my coworker. And I came face to face with another armed assailant outside the bank. And so, yeah, I understand completely what you're saying. Like going through that muck and darkness and panic attacks and all that came with it, and then finally coming to the realization that, oh, wait a minute, one, there was so many lessons to be learned in that darkness, and two, that we can live a life with joy and peace even in the midst of chaos. And so thank you. I wholeheartedly agree, and what a beautiful message to share with people.
hmm Yeah. Yeah. And you, girlfriend, and you.
Thanks. I know I've been writing my memoir for, I don't know, like 14 years now. It's something I've lost track. And it's that same sort of thing where it's like, oh, do people really want to hear my story? But I know they do, because they've
Yeah.
told me, put it out there. But I
Yeah.
think it's still in the works. Like I'm still
Well,
in the
it's
beginning?
honestly what in my experience, it's part of the healing process, and it's in your work and your timing of healing. Because mine, it's been 15 years now, and I've always said this book has been in the works for 15 years, and there were sporadic times where I would try to connect with it, but it ended up being that I ended up writing the book intuitively, and so the way that the book was written is actually from my higher self of a message that other people need to hear versus what I thought people needed to hear, right? And so even as I was writing the book, I'm basically a channel for the story of the book. Like there's aspects of my story in it. So I'm healing as I'm writing, sitting there sobbing and healing as I'm writing, which is what my writing muse told me was like, you're going to heal while writing this. You're going to sob and you're going to basically bleed onto the pages. And I wrote everything by hand. And it was me going through this catharsis of like really moving through it. And it was absolutely a big part of the healing. And honestly, even just this last week of like getting the physical book and now getting on podcasts and talking about it, this is also part of the healing. So it comes in stages, and there's just I think the big thing that we learned throughout there's just no rush of anything. Like I had beat myself up of saying, "Oh, I should have written it 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 10 years ago," right? But now is definitely the right time for me to be, I'm ready to be able to stand here and like share the story from a place of truth and power versus another story of sadness, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, thanks for that soul hug because now I'm like, wow, okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like it'll come when it's ready. That's so cool. Thank you for that.
of
Yeah.
course. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
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 So awesome. Well, I know when I read your bio, like physical therapist, transformational coach. So do you work with people only in the grief arena or what is your realm?
Yeah, no, I appreciate you asking that because that's one thing I was a little afraid of coming out about with my book because I'm like, I don't want to just be known for grief. And yes, my last name is DeGreif, but that's the name I was born with. And here's how I look at it. It's actually degrief, like degriefing, like
Oh,
getting rid
yeah.
of, right? And truth be told is, so no, I actually help people with all sorts of grief, right? Grief is just loss. So it can be loss of sense of self, which is the main thing that I help people with. So there's different presentations of that. So somebody who can just feels like they've lost their sense of self, like they feel lost in their life. They've given up their lives for various other people's, and they just want to find themselves again and what's true for them. So it can be from an altruistic place of like, there's more for me in this life, and I need a guide and a coach to do that. So that's more the transformational coaching aspect of what I do. And then the healing. So I have a physical clinic in person, but now I work with people online because I do healing. I do healing with people that have traumatic or chronic health conditions that have not been able to be helped by either Western medicine, going to all the doctors, getting all the scans, and everything still seems normal, and somebody's gone to the alternative side of healing. And they're trying to do Reiki and acupuncture and all the right things, but that's not landing. Well, here's the thing is there's usually a combination of the two that somebody needs. And what I do is I use my intuition to be communicating with someone's into their inner wisdom of their body. Every single one of us has an inner wisdom of our body. And I use my intuition to connect to that to help people heal. So the work that I actually do spans physical as well as psychosomatic. So it's really psychosomatic healing, but the way that people can come and work with me comes from different ends. Some people can have medical condition that they heard about me through word of mouth that they're like, I don't know what's going on. I've exhausted all my options. Help. Or I have people who are like, I want more. I just feel like there's this calling. I know I'm intuitive, but I have no clue how to access that and how to really live from that space. And so it's a higher calling of the heart, if you will. Um, so my scope is really quite broad, which I find is so funny because nowadays you got to niche things down, right? And then my story being out of grief. So my honestly, my whole niche is joy and delight. I'm here to help people live in delight, is really. But everything in our world today is so focused on like what's the problem, right? So we have to put things into like problem language of like, hey, here's your problem, here's the solution. I would say let's like I help people with the problem of not living fully, right? Like if you want to live fully and be fully alive and vibrant and not artificially connecting to happiness and joy, not just the idea of it, but like a lived experience of who you really are and being content in yourself, healthy in your tissues, and then by virtue healing ailments if you have any. That's what I help with.
Oh, that's so cool. Now, do people have to physically be in your presence or is this stuff you can
No.
do Zoom and all that fun stuff?
Yeah, no, I do it online as well as in person, but mainly what I'm trying to get to is more online because it needs to be this, what I do needs to be more globally available. Like everybody who I work with is just like, oh, I just wish everybody in the world could have this. And of course, COVID forced me to come online. And at first, I was resistant. I was like, I'm a hands-on therapist. I don't understand how this works. And then once I started seeing what I was capable of doing online, I was amazed. I can
Yeah.
actually bring my hands to people and do healing online. Like I can actually feel blood vessels and feel, and people can feel me on their body. And there's ways for us to be, but it's all online, all online.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm such a fan of it and I agree, we are energy, right? And so to be able to connect in that quantum field, if you will, yeah, I think it's 100%, yeah, true.
Yeah.
Like it
It
just
is. And
happens.
that's really where the healing happens, especially if somebody's exhausted all the physical stuff. There's usually something that's not connecting in the quantum field, and that's what I'm get so passionate about is for people to get an individual look at that, like to have somebody one-on-one helping them heal that versus going for generalized ideas and concepts in group programs or an article online is that there's an intimacy with healing in the quantum field that is complex when you're connected with your body, especially with trauma. Honestly, Terry, with
Oh,
trauma, it's much more complex. And so being a trauma specialist, I have people who come to me who've gone to like some of the best healers in the world, right? And they're just like, but there's something that's been missing of that, not integrating something of the lived experience. And it's in that integration that someone reclaims themselves, an aspect of themselves that they were disassociated from because of trauma.
yeah. And
Yeah.
and it's so, oh my gosh, it's so accurate. So I just have to share really quick, and oh my
Yeah.
longtime listeners have heard me talk about this for a couple of years now. So obviously horrific childhood trauma through my first 22 years of life, from sexual abuse to alcoholic parent to physical abuse, like just craziness, with the exclamation point of the two bank robberies. So
Hmm.
spent the next 25 years of my life battling severe panic attacks, finally stepped onto the healing path in 2013. Really was doing great. And we're like, oh, we're going to make our dream come true. We're moving to Hilton Head Island. And I was like, all right, I'm healthy. I don't take any medications. I'm in my 50s, like super healthy, riding my bike, doing everything. Within 6 months of moving into this house, boom, floor rug pulled out from under me, man. I hit my knees down praying hard because my blood pressure was out of whack. My vitamin D levels plummeted. My thyroid, they wanted to just Western medicine was just like, here, take this pill, take this pill, take this pill. And I'm like, no, there
Hmm.
is something going on here. Like,
Hmm.
I need to understand the root cause. Well, by the grace of God, nutritionist said, Terry, I think you need to test your house for mold. And I said, mold? It's beautifully rehabbed. It's gorgeous. And she said, why did they rehab it? And I went, um, I, I don't know. Well, long story short, well, long story long, I figured out the house had been condemned for toxic mold.
Wow.
And the seller lied on the disclosure. And so it was in the ductwork and behind a little bit of flooring and some drywall. But I was the canary in the coal mine because trauma had taken my bucket to here, right? Living in a
Yep.
constant state of hyperarousal for so
Yep.
long. And my body just said, nope, we're putting on the
I don't
brakes.
have resources.
No,
Yeah.
right, I'm done. This is it.
Yep.
And I crashed. Thankfully, so much better, but I can't get rid of the psoriasis rash, the autoimmune, the inflammation. And so I keep having podcast guests who are very intuitive say to me, it's not the toxins, they're out of your body. You've done you've done the activated charcoal and you've done the eating right and you've changed your diet and you've done all the right things. It's not that,
Yep.
it's the emotional component. Your body's still in that emotional state of, I'm going to protect you. I'm
Mm.
and so that's what I'm hearing when you say, am I right in that when you're bringing those missing pieces together?
Yes, and I would take it a step further. And what I do is we communicate with subsets of your system. So, like if you and I were working together, I'm going to go and we're going to communicate with your immune system to find out its emotional relationship. So, what happens is everything that what you're saying is spot on what everybody's saying, and there's an intimacy that you can then spiritually have with your immune system so that you're regulating with your immune system because right now it's an unconscious response and dialogue to any sort of infiltration, right? And so this is super duper common in autoimmune disorders, is that there's a relationship of our being with our being in the body. And the more, to truth be told, what comes to me, Teri, is that the more that you're embodying yourself, right? So the more we're stepping up into our power and we're showing up in the world, being on podcasts and writing books and being of service to people, we're being more embodied, right? Like I'm showing up as more Devin than I did yesterday. I'm showing, right? Like we're just embodying ourselves more. So in the journey to embodiment, there's what I look at as like layers. And so this is your next layer to become deeper embodied. And so it's an opportunity that when you get that call of who's the person for you to be working with, is that, yeah, there is an emotional component, but it's not your emotion. It's like your emotional body, you know, those layers. Do you know about that? Like the layers of our being around our body, but it's that
No,
emotional
please talk
body's
about it.
okay. So,
Yeah, I know. Yay.
oh, yay. Right.
We
So we
both
have
got all excited.
so we have our physical body, right? So this is our physical body, the tissue, the flesh. And then outside of us, most people refer to it as like the aura, right?
Okay.
Okay, you're familiar with that? Okay,
Yep.
that's our energy field. That energy field has different layers to it. So there's like an energy body, a spiritual body, an etheric body. But we just kind of lump those all together because honestly, for the Western mind, it's too esoteric, right? But we have an energy body that is relating to our physical body. And when that energy body had certain responses to trauma and to danger, right? Is there's a relationship that the physical body has to the feedback in between that energy body. And so there's a rewriting of that relationship that you could have and that you could be facilitated through. Um, but it's a delicate, intimate thing that when I go into a session, we drop into this really beautiful, deep space inside of yourself to have these intimate conversations because they're not just like chatting here on a honestly, even though we're having a deep conversation, this is a relatively surface level compared to coming in and talking to your cells of your immune system, if you know what I mean.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's something that if I was working with you that's what I would see needs to happen. But it is by virtue of what everybody else is saying. But the way that I work is taking that premise and it's like on steroids of like how are it's everything's about relationship. Like how are they relating and how can we rewrite the relationship and renegotiate with one another to just move one step forward, not to re-traumatize the system. And I
Yeah.
think that that's something that is um because I hear this actually on the world side note, but this is coming through for me to say is like because I hear this out in the world a lot because somatics has become much more normalized, right? I think a lot more people are talking about somatics and people are dipping their toes into somatics. But if we're just playing in the somatic world, we're going to start unearthing things that if you don't know what you're doing or if you don't have a skilled therapist that is able to guide you, you can re-traumatize and you can have yourself looping and be back into a place that you're just like, why am I here again? Or this reminds me of this old time frame. And so I just invite people that if you're noticing that there is something that's sustaining, right? If eczema or if psoriasis is sustaining and you've done all the things, then maybe to look to a different direction
Yeah.
to
And that's
integrate
exactly where
stuff.
I am. And that's beautiful. Thank you so much for clarifying because
Yeah.
yeah, no, and thank you too for just honoring, trauma survivors in such a beautiful way because um it is a really delicate and we do talk about being re-traumatized. For me, like the beach, moving to Hilton Head was a dream come true, and walking on the beach was one of my favorite things in the world to do. And now I cannot do it in my current state because suddenly, peeling the layers off, whatever happened, whatever came up in some process of this healing journey, uh, brought forth this humongous fear of open spaces. So being out
Yeah.
there, I just want to get in my hermit crab shell and crawl under the sand and be like, okay, I'm safe. I'm good
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
So yeah, and so I recognize it, but it's a matter of, yeah, like, and something has held me back from just going out and doing somatic work on myself. Like, so that's a really valid point is
Because
that, yeah, having somebody that can guide the process is
yeah.
really awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially because like someone in your scenario, which I'm getting goosebumps because this is such a common myth that I love to break. Like for day one, people come start working with me. The myth is debunked. But to share with you, like what that metaphor, what you just said of like, okay, so I'm out in the world, I feel exposed. I want to cave in, I want to go into my shell. what most people who are not skilled with like truly skilled trauma rehab therapists, what they're going to want to do is they have some sort of, even if it's unconscious agenda to help a person open, even if it's like altruistic, like I just want to help you. But what people actually need, Teri, is you need to be able to cave into your cave and your shell even more. And for me to be there with you. And what we end up doing is we actually go back into the hole. That's what I talk about it. Because like I actually talk about it in my book. And the way I experienced was it was a cave. It was a genuine cave that was like my safety zone that if I could retreat back into, that's where. But guess what? That's actually where the healing happens.
Oh, you're tearing me up. That's so cool.
So most people are trying to resist this cave because we think it's bad and we think because society's like, well, and for all different various reasons, right? Like I at one point was like, well, if I go in the cave, will I ever come out of the cave? I don't know if I will, right? But it's actually being in the cave, but with someone who's there in service to you. Because if you go into the cave by yourself, yeah, you want to hang out and just it's safer in the cave. But there's a different inner dynamic that we drop into that, yeah, you can see that it elicits that emotion because that's how we tap in. We gotta come in to get to the tap root. But then we don't have agendas when we're in there. We're just it's a lot of listening and learning and getting intimate with these parts of us that are purposely drawing you in.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, sure. I mean, that's the beautiful thing about what you just said, the parts of us is that they're they're trying to protect me, like they're trying, right? That's what they're there. They're like, hold on just a second. Let's just come into this little shell here.
Yeah, most of the
Yeah.
time, every single one of those parts, the work that we do, those parts actually want to be listened to.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
we weren't ever, I know, right? Just feel that. They're just like they are. They're just these little parts that are so beaten down. They're just like, I just need somebody to be here with me. And it's more like I need you, the being that is capable of holding me at the most intimate level. I need you to be here with me. But we all have to learn how to hold ourselves in that way. I would have never learned to hold myself in that way had I not had to, to be honest,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And so
Right.
that's how I can speak to it is through the experience of what that gives of because I was held, right? Like I was held by people and I was supported. And so then being able to do that for people, but it's in the darkness. So someone who's comfortable with sitting there in the darkness and not having to fix the darkness, but just like hold a part of us in the darkness so that we can get to know it. And that's where the transformation and the healing actually happens.
Yeah. What's so beautiful, and again, making this about myself, but when
It
you
applies.
talked
It's
about
real.
that, the cave, I thought about when I was a little girl, we lived in an apartment and I had a little tiny walk-in closet, right? And my mom had this big black trunk, like I don't know, she inherited. And so I made it like my little bed, and I ran an extension cord and put a little lamp in there, and I brought my little black and white television in there, and it became like my little sanctuary, and it was like this little cave I created for myself. So when I think about a safe space like that, when you had said it, that's what's instantly popped into my head, and I was like,
Mhm.
oh, that's where I went to feel safe. Like I went to that space.
Yep.
Fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we found ways to we found really creative ways as kids to navigate our environments, especially if there was yelling and trauma around. I did the same too. I had my closet, my little dog Gizmo, and I remember writing on the closet door, Devin loves Gizmo. But we really were creative in finding these ways. And the one thing I just want to speak to, not to open a can of worms, but just to speak of what we're end up doing is we're trying to recreate the womb. We're trying to create this sense of protectiveness and like before we entered onto this, and there's usually some sort of womb story that I go back into with people. And so it's just to speak to that there's multiple layers as to with trauma, and there's usually some things in the timeline, but yeah, our genius, our spirit is very creative in ways for us to create these safety wombs, safety nets.
Yeah.
So
Oh my
it's good that
gosh.
you can correlate that because what that does is that creates a neural programming in between today, present, and back then. So there's more of a settling in your nervous system with that, right? Because if we realize like, oh, I've been doing this the whole time and that's normal, right? Like
Yeah.
what little kiddo wouldn't want a little everybody like forts. Forts are a thing for a reason.
Right.
You know what
Yes.
I mean?
It's so
Yeah.
true. We still love to make forts. And I'm like our youngest is 19, but yeah, there's forts are
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. Well, so now do you do courses, or do you have anything along those lines as well?
Yeah, so I'm actually going to be starting to do more courses this spring, summer. So I think by the time this lands, I'll probably actually have some already on my website that have already happened by if this is launched in July. But yeah, I teach. So basically, just on my website, drdevindegreif.com, you'll be able to know any courses and workshops I'm teaching, retreats. I'm also available for one-on-one coaching and healing sessions. And then my
Well,
book is
I'm
also
signing up.
awesome. I would love to, Teri. It sounds like
Yeah,
you're ready for it.
I am for sure. Yeah, that's amazing.
Mhm.
Um, Shoot, I was going to ask a question. Oh, I was just going to tell everybody. So I'll put links in show notes, everyone, too. So yeah. And just to let you know, I'll also do like separate posts on the Facebook page. For those of you who are listening and haven't gone to the Facebook page, make sure you go what is it? Follow, like what I don't know the
One of
proper
those.
terms for it anymore, but yeah, so you can find all the good stuff, and I'll put a link for just for your book so that people can then go do
Fabulous.
that as well. So, but I'll put it in show notes as well. So,
Awesome.
all right.
Thank
Well,
you.
yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, I certainly want to give you an opportunity to certainly address anything that we didn't get to touch upon or leave folks with any final words of wisdom before we close out.
Yeah. No, I think we touched a lot, but I just want to tie this into the whole name of your podcast, right? The healing place. You are the healing place. The space within you that is the truest of you is your healing place. And the more that you can orient to that and heal out of that and seek out support if you need to, that's where the magic happens. And so you all are doing great by listening to this and being in this energy that Teri has built. But if I could just have other people in the world know of what that the true healing place is that deep core you that's within.
Yeah. Oh, well, what a beautiful way to summarize it. Thank you.
Mhm.
That's and it's so very true. Like I'm always cheering folks on for all the listeners, whoever's tuning in right now. Yeah, you just you're so very worthy of that healing. And yeah, so there you go. Well, gosh, thank you so much for one, taking your personal pain and turning it into purpose and helping people. I've said for gosh, almost 8 years now on this show that people are looking for a hand to hold and someone to be with them. Not to, we don't have a magic wand to fix people, but we can be there to hold their hand and guide them along their journey and walk with them. So it's a beautiful gift. Thank you for writing your book and putting it out there in the universe. I don't want to say I'm glad it took you 15 years, but it makes me feel better about my 14. So
Happy to help.
no, it is. It's divine timing. Like it's coming right at the right time for you and everyone who needs to read it and maybe listen to it if you do an audiobook. So there you go.
Yeah, that's definitely the next step. But for now, I'll just share with you the
Oh
beautiful
yeah.
cover art of it.
I find so listen, I swear I have to tell you this. Hold that back up
What?
again. That
Okay.
one, I find hearts everywhere. Like I just, well, that's just a little heart that someone had given me as a gift, but like
Yeah.
my little my like I made myself these little affirmations. They're all in hearts.
Yeah.
Like I see hearts in the clouds and hearts and leaves chewed by bugs. And I just find it everywhere. And when I did this really crazy meditation, I was taken to the as I call it, the smoky veil. And I was given this message that Teri, you are both of the earth and of the light, and you need to be a prism of that light. And so when I look at your book,
Yes.
look at that. It's the
That's the
heart
prism.
with a prism of light from divine light, that we are prisms, and so you are a beautiful prism, and I adore you. Like I
Oh,
just want to
thank
reach
you.
through and hug you.
Oh
So
my God. Here's your hug back, girlfriend. Yeah. No,
thanks.
the intentionality of this book cover is exactly that. And I love that you're picking. So the journey is through the heart. And it's through the heart that we realize our multidimensionality and all the aspects. It's like a crystal that the sun shines through. All the prisms are there. All the
Yes,
prisms.
oh my gosh,
Yeah.
you so get it. Well, this has just been so beautiful. You made my day, so thank you for joining
Hmm.
me and yeah, sharing
Yeah,
your
my
story.
pleasure. Yeah, no,
Awesome.
it's been a joy. Thank you, Jerry.
Absolutely. So one last time, where can folks connect with you and find you?
drdevindegreif.com.
Awesome. All right. Well, everyone, thanks for joining us today on the Healing Place podcast. And remember, until next time, be gentle with yourself.
Mm.
Thanks. Bye bye. Hey, everybody. Teri Wellbrock here. Just wanted to thank you again for being a part of this healing space and my hashtag hope for healing journey. Thank you for sharing, liking, inviting others to join, listening in. You've really helped this show blossom. It has now been downloaded in 136 countries and is in the top 2% globally out of 3.2 million shows, which is just amazing. And it's all because of you and your tuning in and inviting others and sharing and liking and loving. And your reviews on Apple really help too. My goal is to hit 100 5-star reviews by the end of the year. And I am closing in on that. So if you are listening in on Apple or Apple Podcasts, please go and rate the show and leave a review if you absolutely love it. And I would be most appreciative. Also, if you would like to receive my monthly Hope for Healing newsletter, please be sure to go to teriwellbrock.com. It's Teri, just one R, WELLBROCK.com. And I have a gift to send you for signing up for that monthly Hope for Healing newsletter. Plus, there are many other resources listed on that page, including a resource library. All right. Thanks. Bye-bye.